Some there are who have seen her standing like a tree under heaven, crowned with the sun, and from all its branches there spilled a golden dew upon the barren earth, and it grew green with corn. But the roots of the tree were in the waves of Olmo, and the winds of Manwë spoke in its leaves. That's right, guys. We're talking about the one and only, your favorite Valinor, this Arbor Day, Yavanna. We're talking about the face behind the Ents, the face behind the two trees of Valinor, the face behind the Silmarils. It's going to be a fun one. If you like Lord of the Rings, Arda, the cosmics of Middle Earth, this is going to be a great episode for you. I'm Joshua Noel, and I'm here with the one and only Tolkien reincarnated, Nick Polk. How's it going?
What's up, dude? Tolkien reincarnated. Wow. His Feyar has entered, my Hroar.
It's great because he's rolling in his grave that we were talking about reincarnation, probably.
No, dude, the elves reincarnate.
That's right.
Yeah.
He's to blame for us believing in reincarnation. It's
all his fault. It's all his fault. Tolkien the Catholic. Okay.
Oh, man, fun stuff. Well, we have to talk about what we're geeking out on lately. Weird one. I know this is like a hard transition, but Scrubs came back. I'm loving the renewal. And my wife started watching the new episode with me, and then was like, what if we rewatched the original show? Because she had never seen it like all the way through. She's seen parts of it. But like for me, it's like my comfort show, so I've seen it all the way through like more times than I care to say. Fun joke for my friend who's probably listening. When I was first introduced to Scrubs in college, and he showed me the show. No one saw me for 3 days. I came back red-eyed, and they were like, where have you been, dude? And I'm like, some people sleep. I watched Scrubs instead. I literally just watched it all straight through. No sleep, anything. Like, hyper-fixated, and it hasn't left me since. Like, I love this show, and I'm so excited to get to do a rewatch with my wife now. Not because I need a comfort show right now, but just because we're watching something together. It's great. Nick, how about you, man? What have you been geeking out on?
Man, no, so I just, whenever I did the Scrubs, man, I remember watching it in high school and then watching it again with my friends my freshman year of college too. So high school and college memories with Scrubs.
Nice.
Yeah, I need to give it. So it is good. I need to give it a go.
It's, I think it's good. I think you would like it. You know how some Lord of the Rings fans get upset about like The Hobbit or the new show or whatever. Like, wait a minute, we don't like how this was. There are some people who are butthurt by some stuff, but I'm like, I think it makes sense, and I'm just gonna roll with it. It's fine, guys.
Yeah, it's here for a good time.
Yeah, if you like the laughs and the whatever, and you're not like super attached to any particular storyline, and you're just there for fun, it's great.
Heck yeah, dude. I'm nerding out on two things, really. So I went to Ireland for spring break and this year, last couple weeks ago. And so I like Irish.
On like corned beef?
Dude, yeah, straight corned beef, potatoes, Guinness. I did drink a ton of Guinness. But I like literature, and I got some James Joyce. And I'm kind of geeking out on a little James Joyce recently. And other one is the new anime Rooster Fighter. And I've just gotten so excited for each new episode. And it is just absurd, fantastic animation. And it's kind of amazing.
Rooster Fighter?
Yeah. It's on... I think it's on Crunchyroll, of course, but it's on Disney Plus and Hulu as well.
Nice. I'll have to check it out. That actually,
yeah.
I love animation. I'm a nerd, but that's why we do this, because we're geeks. Speaking of which, if you're a geek for this show, consider rating and reviewing wherever you get your podcasts. If it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever. The rates, the reviews, all that stuff helps flag it for algorithms so that people think this show's important, and we'll give it a listen, and that helps us out, and we appreciate it. Also, what helps us out is having financial supporters of the show. We love all of them. Today, we're especially shouting out Trip Fuller, because if I'm going to shout out a financial sponsor on a Lord of the Rings episode, I think it has to be Trip. I think it just has to.
Absolutely. What a guy.
Yeah.
What a freaking guy.
Awesome guy. And if you want to see him in person with us, Theology Beer Camp 2026 in Kansas City, maybe a link in the description if Joshua remembers. He won't, but he might. You can also get your own shout out if you want to be like Trip. You can get your own shout out, become an official member of Systematic Ecology on our website that's in the show's description. Same website. You can get this really cool t-shirt that's up right here. The faces behind us, the series that we're doing right now. It's our annual theme of 2026 on Systematic Ecology, which means the shirt will be gone after 2026. It's the only shirt we have that I think looks really good in purple.
Ooh,
So if you like purple, you got to get this one. It's awesome. I love it.
My favorite color.
It's so good. So yeah, guys, check out the shirt. Think about grabbing it. Support the show. Give us a little money so that we can keep recording and find a way to pay to go to Kansas City. Also, if you hear more of our Faces Behind Us series, there will be a playlist for the entire series for our annual theme in the show's description. A lot of links down there. All good stuff. Check them out. Speaking of things you need to check out, links, Nick Polk, and the Silmarillion. Gotta check them all out. So today we are going to be talking about Yavanna, because it's Arbor Day. We love celebrating Arbor Day. It's something we do every year with various different episodes. I might link some of those down below too if you want to hear old years. One year, I think Nick and I did talk about the Ents and the Ent wives. I think we had an episode we were discussing that a little bit.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, because Nick was a former host. I don't remember if you were a host at that point or if you were guesting then, but like, either way, they should listen to it.
100%, because that was an Arbor Day episode, right?
Yeah. I do a lot of Arbor. I love Arbor Day.
I love Arbor Day. I have a membership to whatever it's called, the Arbor Day Foundation or whatever the heck it is.
Nice.
So I have 2 maples from the Arbor Day Foundation in my front yard. Yeah.
If I was better, I would. We're figuring out what trees we want because we got a new house last year. And we didn't want to plant stuff the first year. We've been kind of like waiting to plant it out. And this year, we're figuring out some trees in the backyard. We're going to get a weeping cherry.
Ooh, that sounds so sick, dude.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be great. But other than trees, we want to talk about the Silmarillion, Arda, Lord of the Rings, Middle Earth, whatever other nouns you guys want to hear. That's what we're talking about today. And some little background so they know the gist, right? So we're talking about the faces behind us. That's our annual theme. We're talking not about the main characters, but the characters behind the main characters. And the Silmarillion, it's kind of hard to figure out who the main characters and stuff are, I guess, or the Ents.
Yeah.
But Yavanna's definitely one of those faces that you're like, this character is kind of behind the scenes of everything that goes on in Middle Earth, like everything. So I'm excited to get into it. But first, Nick, could you, for those who may not know, could you explain who are the Valinor? What are the 2 trees of Valinor? And who are the Ents, the Silmarillion, the Silmarils? What are the Silmarils, etc.?
Yeah. So I'll kind of start from the beginning there. Yeah. So I love this. Asking a Tolkien nerd to info dump about the Silmarillion. Yes, please.
Yeah, I can't wait.
I'm excited. So, for those who don't know, if you've only seen the movies, or maybe you've only seen the TV show, or maybe you've just read the books, everyone is familiar with Treebeard, or at least the Ents. And so they're cool tree people, which is really neat. And where do they come from? And I will tell you where they come from. We'll start a little before I get like where they come from. We're going to go all the way to the beginning. And I did an episode with Will and Trip on here for another episode of the faces behind. What is it?
Yes. Yeah. The faces behind us. It was a website exclusive, but it's available for free. So you still should go to the website. You get.
But yeah, so we talked about the beginning of the universe, the Tolkien universe, and it is in the Ainulindale and the Silmarillion. And so in the beginning, there's one monotheistic God, and then there are different beings. And I won't focus on all the beings. We'll talk about the Valar. And the Valar are basically the lower G gods of Middle Earth, and they work with the monotheistic God to construct the universe, and specifically construct Arda, which is the earth, and they make a blessed realm called Valinor. And there are 8 primary Valar. in the pantheon, if you will. There's more Valar than 8, but there's like the main ones. They're like the big 12, in Greek mythology, if you're familiar with them. And the 8, which I don't know if I'm gonna be able to recite them all, but the big ones that you should know are Manwe, who is kind of the mouthpiece for God or Eru Iluvatar, Aule, the god of fire and or smithing or work, smith work, kind of like a Hephaestus type of guy. You've got Ulmo, who is the Vala of the waters, and you've got Yavanna, who is the Vala of nature, who we'll be talking about, and then there's Varda, who is the wife of Manwe, and basically the Vala of the stars. Those are pretty much the main ones you hear about all the time. And Yavanna is actually married to Aule as well. Now, when the earth is established, there is no sun, there is no sun. There is no moon. There is no light source. And what happens is that there are 2 lamps that are constructed on either side of Arda. And so they wax and wane depending on what's night and what's day. And Melkor, who is one of the big baddies, or the big baddie, gets really pissed, destroys them. There's no more light, and the Valar try to rebuild. Okay, and there is one of the, I think she's in the Big 8. Her name is a Vala named Nienna, and this is actually Gandalf's teacher, essentially. But Nienna is like the Vala of pity and compassion, and she weeps because things suck now. And then Yavanna starts singing a lament and a song, and 2 trees start growing out of the ground. And because Nienna has powerful tears, because she's the Vala of pity, all of a sudden new light sources come up. There is the golden tree, if you will, named Lordolin for my nerds out there, which is our sun. She is the sun tree, essentially. And then there is Telperion, who is the white tree or the moon. So those 2 trees come up, and they are the new light source for the world. And they are in the blessed realm of Valinor. And fast forward a long time from now, elves come to Valinor. Okay,
Christmas elves.
Christmas elves, yeah, 100% short little guys. White.
Not Christmas elves. I'm sorry, guys. I can't help it.
So if you're familiar with Tolkien's Legendarium, elves are epic. They are like 7 foot tall. They are the original craftsmen. Okay, and so if you're not familiar with that, the Silmarillion's a great place to start to learn about how awesome the elves are. There's one elf in particular who's like the greatest, also the most complex and problematic. His name is Feanor. And he becomes this amazing craftsperson, and he actually studies under Yavanna's husband, Aule, and that's how he becomes so good at crafting jewels and other things like that. So Melkor is mad that there is new good things in the world. And so Melkor and a giant spider named Ungoliant go and destroy the 2 trees. And before that, Feanor is such a great craftsman that he is able to take the light from Lorelin and Telperion, the 2 trees, and puts them into 3 jewels called the Silmarils. And this is where the Silmarillion gets its namesake, because all of the things that happen from this point on are because of the Silmarils. And so Feanor does this, the trees die, and Feanor had the opportunity to restore the trees because he had the light. Yavanna asks him for it specifically, and Feanor says, no, they're mine, get out of my way, and leaves Middle Earth, and then all the problems start really happening.
Yeah. And then if I'm remembering right, one of the Silmarils, because of Feanor, end up in like the bottom of the sea. I don't remember how the other two get what they get, but like one is like the fire and the earth, and then one's up in like the cosmos, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But that's, this isn't a Silmaril episode. This is just Josh asking Nick if he understood the book properly. Because I read it again this week. Like, for me, as much as I love it, sometimes the way Tolkien talks, like, it just feels so incredible that even when I don't get it, I'm so inspired. And then later I think about it, I'm like, did I understand that?
No,
Like, I'm not
100%.
sure that I understood that, but I felt like I did. You know?
And like
it
you
definitely
said,
made me feel something. But like, did I get it?
And who are the main characters? I don't know if there are any main characters.
Yeah. Maybe the one problematic elf.
Yeah, maybe Feanor, or the
Oh,
Silmarils.
I was thinking the dentist. I'm just a miss. Sorry. Guys,
freaking Hermie, dude.
ADHD. It's bad. Okay, so no, I love it. Backtracking, I'm trying to think through everything you said to see like if there was anything that I wanted to add or was like, oh yeah, that was so freaking cool. Because I know, obviously, I love the trees. We're gonna get into some of Aule and Yavanna's relationship and the Ents, because like it's Arbor Day, we got to go there. But like, I think the thing with the two trees, this is what was really cool to me. At least when I was listening this time, and I think that I got this correct. If not, it's what I was made to feel, and I think it's a valid feeling. Yeah. So listening through, because like also $2, you get the Silmarillion on Amazon, and it's both Kindle and audiobook. So you can read it, and then you're in the car and just switch to the audiobook, and then you're out of the car and you switch back to reading it, and it's awesome. Anyway, I'm listening to it though. Yeah, it's so cool. But I was listening to this part whenever the two trees were first being made after the lamps were destroyed, and it was like, I don't know, it felt like being at like this grand, beautiful funeral almost, where like they were mourning the loss of the light, and in that mourning, was it Yavanna who begins to sing?
Yes.
Yeah, which is also super important. All of creation happens through song in Arda.
Yes.
Like that's how Eru Iluvatar creates everything in Ainu and Lundale, I'm sure, which you guys spoke about recently. And I think we also did an episode back during our year of Origins. We talked about the origins of Middle Earth, and we also talked about it then.
Oh, yeah.
So I might link that below, maybe. We'll see how good I am at links. But, yeah, so it's important that it was song, because she's one of the Valinor that's creating with Eru Iluvatar, not fighting against him, and she's doing that through song here. But it was like, I don't know, it was like a sad song to me is what it felt like. It's like we're mourning, and then out of that, new life came up, and I'm like, wow, that feels so like fundamentally Christian, like like I try not to be that guy, but I'm like, no, that just felt deeply Christian. Like that's just like, this is what Christianity is actually all about,
Yeah, well, and I think especially that notion, Tolkien has a word for it. It's called eucatastrophe, okay? And it's this idea that the happy ending comes from the deliverance of something sorrowful, okay? And so Tolkien talks about how sorrow and beauty are necessarily intertwined. And you'll see that in Tolkien where almost every beautiful moment or triumphant moment comes with severe loss, right? And Yavanna, also, when they lose the trees, I think you talk about, she sings again, and then Telperion and Laurelin produce one more fruit each, and they become the seeds, the fruit or whatever, become the sun and the moon, okay? And so there's also that not only do these trees contribute to the life force of Valinor, and I guess the rest of the world, but also after their death, they contribute to sustaining all life through their light through the fruit. And for Tolkien, trees are not just trees. Even these trees here, obviously the white tree of Gondor, trees are very much alive in the personal sense for Tolkien. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, him being Catholic, it's no coincidence, two trees, and you think about the two trees in the Garden of Eden Bible story. I definitely think that it being part of the creation myth, like that fits. It makes sense that that's probably a parallel. And then, to me, and this is something that we just thought about not long before we started recording, actually, was the I'm see if I pronounce this right. The Dagor Dagroth.
Oh
Am I saying it right? Okay, yeah. So it's like the last battle, which maybe canonicity is questionable. We'll say that.
Right.
Yeah. But it's supposedly it's the prophecy of the end times, and it's like there's this final battle for good and evil kind of stuff. They regain the light from the Silmarils. Feanor, is that the name of the elf?
Feanor.
Feanor, yeah. So I was like, that doesn't sound right. Okay, Feanor. He's even brought back into this whole thing. They do return the lights to Yavanna. She recreates the trees, and I'm like, man. Then you couple that with like in the Silmarillion, which I think is more canon. There's levels of canon. When they talk about the two trees, there's like this moment it's describing where it's like kind of like I guess dusk because there's no sun or moon yet. When like the two trees lights are almost at the same time, when like one's going in and one's going out, and it talks about like the beauty that creates in the land of Valinor, and I'm like, oh. Like for me, like that even brings meaning. Like when you're watching Lord of the Rings and stuff, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna do the trip to Valinor," and it's like heavenish, and I'm like, "Oh, I get it now." Like that actually does sound like majestic when you read it.
Yeah. It's some of the stuff gets lost when you like. Obviously, the films are very visually beautiful, and like when Frodo leaves at the Grey Havens at the end of the Return of the King, I mean, just tears in the eyes, right? But once you actually get the background knowledge to like Valinor and Valinor, where Frodo's going at this point, isn't even in the height of its beauty, right? When you read the Silmarillion, Tolkien's descriptions of Valinor with the two trees is just like you said. It feels like if you look at stuff and you talk about two trees in a magical realm, you're like, that's pretty mundane. But then when you read it, you get the feels, as you were saying.
But like I do want to get to the Ents. So Yavanna is like she's like the valor of like fruit, plants, life, whatever. Early on, it talks about the creation of the trees. And then very shortly after, it talks about her relationship with I guess you would say her husband. I don't know if it uses husband and wife language, but like that's what it is.
I think like you said, they don't use the language, but I think they are.
Yeah, it's interesting. Sorry, this is a little bit of a sidebar, but it is interesting because like Tolkien criticized Lewis for like combining mythologies, but a lot of this feels like he took Greek mythology and combined it with Catholicism.
Oh
Because
yeah.
like the Valinor very much get the feel of like the Greek god. So you have Eru Iluvatar, who very much feels like the god of the Bible, and then you have the Valinor that's like, okay, now we have Greek gods, and then under them you have like the Manar, and that's like saints, like is what it feels like Gandor, a saint of something, and this is like the saint of something. I'm like, wait, so we're going back to Catholic, and so it's like a weird mix. But he wasn't doing metaphor because how dare you think he did metaphor?
Right. How dare you?
Anyway, yeah. So let's talk about Aule and Yavanna's relationship. I think that's a good place to go, and that'll get us to the Ents. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I think you're right. I think there's less scholarship on people doing work on seeing the Greek elements in Tolkien's Legendarium, but I really do think I'm compared Aule to Hephaestus in Greek mythology, if you are familiar, if the listeners are familiar. And Yavanna is very much like Demeter, and not like her daughter Persephone, because she doesn't go to an underworld or whatever and marry a Hades like character. But Yavanna basically is just in charge of everything that is growing and green. Is Yavanna. It's all her. And even possibly some of the animals also might be her doing. She's at least like a shepherd, like Vala, who takes care of things. And, people always joke about opposites attracting. Aule loves stone. He loves ore. He loves fire. And you've got this sort of opposites attract sort of thing. And part of the music of Iluvatar actually, so Iluvatar has like this whole plan in place for the whole of creation. And the Valar all have kind of bits and pieces of what that's going to look like. And the Ents are part of the vision. And so Yavanna helps in bringing about the Ents. And of course, she's just super stoked because where else has anyone talked about Ents? Ents are the coolest. They're like so unique to Middle Earth. And then Aule goes and creates the dwarves. And this was not in Iluvatar's plan, but Iluvatar actually adopts the dwarves and then incorporates them into the music. And, the dwarves are notorious for having axes and cutting stuff and, using wood. And, Yavanna is like, listen, hubby, keep your dwarves' axes away from my freaking ants, dude. And he's like, why are you coming after me? He's like, the elves and the men who are the children of Iluvatar are going to have to cut down the trees and burn their wood anyway. So Yavanna gets real mad. She goes to Manwe and she's like, listen here, buddy. She's like, these dwarves and elves and men are going to be cutting down my children? I don't think so. And Manwe's like, all right, hold on real sec. And he's like, let me just talk to Big Daddy in the sky real quick. And Manwe channels his energy because Manwe is like the direct mouthpiece of Iluvatar. And he's like, oh, hey, by the way, your Ents are not just going to be walking and talking. They're going to be pretty freaking powerful and are going to be able to defend themselves. So, yeah.
Yeah. The timeline feels a little weird. And this is one of those things where, like, to me, it kind of shows that Tolkien wasn't finished with this,
Yeah, no doubt.
Because, like, the timeline's a little weird. Because, like, she has thought of the Ents. She's, like, beginning, like, oh, this is what they're going to be like, whatever. And she's like, just need approval from Eru Iluvatar so we can get this job going. He's the real creator. I'm just co-creator kind of deal. And then, like, bust up with a dwarves. They're going to chop stuff up. They're going to build some stuff. It's going to be freaking cool, man. And, like, you also have, like, an interesting contrast of, like, the innate desire to create looking a little bit different for Aule. And I think a lot of, more masculine types. I don't know, probably not me. But, like, there's, like, this form of creating that's, like, we're welding, we're, working with wood. Like, there's a craftsmanship. And, like, I don't, like, I think the desire was good. And that's why Iluvatar was like, no, okay, I'll let him be. And then I was like, well, heck. And Iluvatar's, wait a minute, you're Ents. We'll just make them the solution. And it's kind of like,
right.
What came first? The dwarf, the Ent, the dwarf, the Ent.
Chicken or egg situation. The dwarf.
I don't think Tolkien ever decided,
Yeah, and it's interesting because it's so incomplete, and Tolkien revised things so many times. But we do see, at least with characters like Yavanna and Aule, who they are is pretty intact from when Tolkien began writing early in like the 19 teens or the 20s. They're like you said, the timeline of like who they create and what transforms over time. But it's interesting that is so incomplete and like convoluted. But Yavanna and Aule's character are pretty much stay the same throughout Tolkien's writing, which is just really interesting to me.
Yeah, like, which, I appreciate. I love character development, so I like that he spends so much time with the characters, and then he's like, let me get the backstory. Then after we get the backstory, I might think about starting the story, maybe.
Right.
Yeah, so we talked about a lot of stuff. It's called the Silmarillion because of the Silmarils. They get their light from the two trees after they were destroyed-ish, maybe during their destruction? Question mark. Timelines. Timelines are weird in the Silmarillion. But so we kind of went over a lot of this. I want to ask you a really probably weird question here. And there's there's a few different routes that I want to go with the question, but I want to see what your thoughts are first. What would the stories of Arda, what would they be like if Yavanna was not a part of the story? What would be missing other than everything?
Yeah, you literally would not have plants and possibly animals. You would not have the two trees. You would not have the Silmarils. You would not have the sun and moon. And of course, you would not have the Ent. And, the Ents, everything here. Tolkien has like a domino effect storytelling. Without the Ents, there's no defeat of Saruman. No defeat of Saruman, everyone's screwed. Saruman and or Sauron win. Without the Silmarils, there's no epic legends. And without the two trees, no light source, no white tree of Gondor, no symbols of hope and power and kings, So she's pretty integral.
Yeah. That's where I was like, it's kind of a hard question. So we asked this question on all of the episodes of Faces Behind Us, but I'm like, it's hard here because, like, Without Yavanna, she created trees. No trees, no oxygen. Everyone's dead. There's
Yeah,
literally
that's
nothing.
true.
There's nothing. But ignoring that, like even like each individual part that she played, I'm like, okay, if she wasn't there to create the two trees, like let's forget about trees in general. You don't get the Silmarils, which kind of serve as this because like the elves capture the beauty of the trees and then they get envious with that power, and it kind of serves as the same thing as like the fruit and the garden story of the Bible, where it's like that was like that first sin that kind of caused everything else to start falling apart. So you don't get the Hobbit, you don't get the Lord of the Rings, etc. Okay, let's say the two trees still somehow happen. She doesn't create the Ents. While they lose at Isengard, Saruman's victorious. Then no one's there to distract the Eye of Sauron. At Frodo and them can't destroy the ring. Everybody loses. Morgoth comes back somehow. I was like,
Merry and Pippin are dead,
yeah, like every little individual thing she did. I'm like, if you take any one of those actions out, kind of everything falls apart.
Yeah. Which king stays alive? Yeah, all those things.
Yeah, so I was like, it's a hard question because, and it's funny because I don't think now Iluvatar is mentioned in like the Rings of Power TV series. Morgoth is mentioned. I don't know if either of them are mentioned in Hobbit, Lord of the Rings. I think they are in the extended cut, but I don't know if they are in the regular. I'm unsure.
That's a great question. I don't remember. I know I think the Valar and Morgoth. Yeah. I think Morgoth's mentioned definitely in the movies, theatrical. I don't know if the Valar. I think the Valar are mentioned. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that was the other thing to say. Earlier you mentioned Melroth or Melkar. I can't remember his name.
Melkor. Who is Morgoth?
That's Morgoth. Yeah. For those who didn't know. Same character.
Oh, sorry.
I say Morgoth and he's saying that. It is the same character. That just names are weird.
Yeah, Tolkien has literally like at least 5 names for every single character. So
and every tree, it seems like.
And every tree.
Yeah. That's always like it's a hard thing. Because like, yeah, everything she does ends up integral not only to the story of the Silmarillion, but everything that happened after. Like the Hobbit, I feel like a little bit less so. I mean, you have that like, the original sin kind of idea of like the Silmarils, and that's why everything bad happens. But like, I think the Hobbit stands on its own as a story.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But the Lord of the Rings, when you get to like, you're talking about Sauron and the connections to Melkor, all that other stuff, it's like, well, now you kind of have to see the Ents, see who created the Ents, and then you're like, okay, Lord of the Rings doesn't work without Yavanna's part in the Silmarillion, like at all. Yeah.
Yeah, she's pretty huge, which is why I think we could probably also do the same really with all of the Valar, but Yavanna seems to have a higher importance than I think I thought about before this episode.
Yeah, me too. Because I was like, we'll talk about the Ents, and then maybe we'll mention the 2 trees. That's literally always my thought process. And I was like, what do you mean mention the 2 trees? That's like the whole deal, man.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. I kind of got crazy preparing for this because I was like, I missed this, and it was my idea. So I do want to ask you, since it's Arbor Day, how do you think that understanding the character of Yavanna and why Tolkien wrote this character into existence might help us in better appreciating the trees, just trees in general? Because obviously Tolkien cares about the trees. Yavanna cares about the trees. Why should we care about the trees, Nick?
I speak for the trees.
Was it? I love the Lorax reference. I don't think we've done Lorax for Arbor Day yet somehow. But I was thinking of like, nobody cares for the woods as I care for them. Not even elves nowadays. It's like I'm not on anybody's side. Yeah, there's so many, and it's like, who will shepherd the trees? Like, I love the Ents. Sorry, I got on
the Ents are the best.
But why should we care about trees? What does all of this help us? Help motivate us?
Yeah, I think a lot of people miss this about Tolkien in a lot of ways, is that Tolkien was very much an anti I'm trying to think of the best way to put this that's accurate.
I always say like anti-industrial, but like I don't use like anti-progress, but like
correct. Yeah, industrial is great. Anti-industrial, basically just production for the sake of production when it comes to the cutting down of trees. And part of this is informed by the way that he grew up. He grew up in a place called Sarehole Mill, which was just like a little country paradise. And so when Tolkien came back, it was like the scouring of the Shire, factories everywhere, 70s and 60s style brick houses, which are just the ugliest form of architecture across the Western world.
Indeed.
Gosh, yeah. When you look at old colleges that were made in the 60s and 70s, ugly red brick buildings.
Yeah.
But Tolkien, I mean, just the fact that trees are such a huge part, and Tolkien actually talks about in letters, and friends would talk about how he would just be really upset when people would cut down trees. But the trees are ultimately how we have the beginning of the stories. The white tree of Gondor is a symbol. The Ents are integral to saving things, and they're the ones who are left alone and chopped down. And Tolkien feels sad about that. And Tolkien even compares his entire Middle-earth project to a tree itself, and hopes that his tree of his story will literally come alive in the afterlife. And so I think that we should take the words of Treebeard seriously, because even though they're his words, they're partially Tolkien's words, because Tolkien wrote them. So, yeah.
No, I agree.
Care for the trees.
Yeah, and I love it. And I think, to me, a lot of it boils down to, I'm a visual person, so sometimes the movies stand out more to me, and sometimes the book does. It just depends. But the scene in the movie, and you have Saruman having the Uruk-hai created, and you see him tearing down trees and using industry to kind of create these new monsters so he can win the wars, or, whatever, have power, whatever thing he's up to, his new scheme. And like visually seeing the destruction of the forest, and then Treebeard looking out at it and going, he should know better. And like, to me, the Maynars, it's, I think of the Maynar as saints, right? That's in my brain, that's what they are. I'm looking at like the church, the leaders of our church, and how many of us like just sit by, do nothing as the trees are being torn down, or like we're okay with building these giant mega churches that have no function. And it's like, he should know better. And like, I feel that so deeply in the movie. And I don't know, to me, like a lot of it boils down to that. Like, yes, that's Treebeard, but why is Treebeard who he is? He doesn't get that. He doesn't say that line. That's not an important thing without Yavanna being the face behind Treebeard. There we go.
100%.
I plugged the series.
Well played.
Yeah, Tolkien, someone who served in the war, wrote these incredible stories, all this stuff, and trees being so important to him. Yeah. You know what? I'm going to name Tolkien is my personal saint of the trees.
I love that.
I love him for
I
that.
love that.
Yeah. Well, with that then. That's a good sound effect.
That is fantastic.
Yeah. We do get to wrap this one up. I went over my own limits. It's fine. But we got to give a recommendation for people. I'm going to cop out and say that $2 version of Silmarillion that you could get through Audible, that's also works as a Kindle. I think you buy it on Kindle, and then it also works on Audible. So you can switch between the reading and listening effortlessly. That's my recommendation. That's just such a convenient way to read something. You never have to stop.
I'm going to cop out too and say Rooster Fighter. Like, I really think it's so unique and weird. And I've said this to friends. I'm like, if you give it a chance, I want to just talk to people about it because it's so insane and awesome. Yeah. So Rooster Fighter. So far,
I've loved everything that Nick has recommended. So I'm going to be checking that out. Nick is the saint of recommendations on systematic ecology. We're gonna name that now. Guys, speaking of which, Nick and I both recommend that you rate and review our show wherever you get your podcast, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever. It helps get our show noticed by others so that other people listen and we can keep doing this. What also helps us keep doing this is our financial supporters. Again, thank you, Trip. We couldn't do this without you. And your love for Tolkien continues to inspire us to keep loving him more. So,
amen.
You're the best. Smooches. Guys, if you want, you can get your own shout out on becoming a member on the website. Link in the description. Same website. You can get some other free extra content. Trips on some of it. You could get some extra merch. You can leave a one-time financial gift without subscribing to anything if you want. Lots of stuff you can do on that website. Link in the description. Lots of links down there. Make sure you read the description. I put a lot of work into it, so it means a lot to me when you read it. Also, if you want to hear the rest of our series, there's a playlist. Again, link in the description of all of the faces behind the series. And it's been a blast so far, so I'd appreciate if you check it out. Also, remember that t-shirt up there in the corner if you're watching. It's a good shirt, faces behind us. Get on the website. And of course, you got to remember, we're all the chosen people, a geekdom of priests.